Also in studio with us is the executive director of Rhode Island Housing. So a very special guest here in studio. Barbara Fields is here. Barbara, how are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you being in
here. Absolutely.
Jack asked me, and I show up.
Thank you, Director. We really appreciate it.
See, that's why we keep him around, though.
Yeah, he's useful that way, isn't he?
Just a few things. Right.
So what's going on out there?
Well, Rhode Island Housing has had a very good year. We've been working very closely with the governor and her team, and we're set on using our resources to help put Rhode Islanders back to work.
And into housing.
And into good, safe, and affordable housing. You got it.
There's a couple of programs that I believe you worked with the state and the governor, the state grant program. How's that working?
I'm so glad you brought that one up. That's the Ocean State Grant Program. And we created that program in order to be part of the governor's plan to stimulate the economy. And it's a way for us to help recent graduates stay in Rhode Island by offering assistance in helping them pay for a home. As of last week, we had closed 24 loans.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
Unbelievable.
And we've had 87 applications. We only launched it the day after Labor Day in September. And the idea is to provide some down payment assistance if you're within 36 months of a bachelor's or a master's degree. Mm-hmm. And it's worked really well.
That is fantastic. Wow.
We're very excited about it, and we're the only state in New England to offer this type of assistance. So we think the message is getting out.
Yeah, and what are the rates on that?
Well, basically, you can get up to 3.5% of the total cost of the home, up to $7,000. And it's forgivable over 5 years. So if you stay in your house for 5 years, it's a total grant. And the average income of someone getting one of these is the same as our general portfolio, just under $60,000 a year in income. And the average grant has been about $6,000.
That's fantastic. So that kind of works in conjunction with the governor's jobs program.
Absolutely. We think that this helps people who get a job here put roots in the community and buy a home.
Oh, God, I can't believe you got that many already.
We are very, very busy, and we hope that continues right through the winter months, but we'll see. I'll be glad to come back in the spring and tell you how it's going.
That would be fantastic. And the other programs you have is also the assistance in the foreclosures.
Yeah, well, we work with a couple of different programs in helping people. We have a help center. We encourage people, if you have any challenges or struggles with paying your mortgage, to come and call us, and we can help you think through the different options available to you and help people avoid foreclosure if possible.
And your portfolio is kind of extensive, I think, relative to the loans you have out there. So, and how many, if any, have you had foreclosed on?
I don't have the exact numbers, but actually we see a declining number of foreclosures this year. So our numbers in our portfolio are moving in the right direction, but obviously as long as anybody is experiencing that, we're out there to help them.
So that means that the housing prices are rising, which would prevent people from being, how should I say it, the value of the house is less than what the mortgage is.
Yeah, they're getting out from under.
Getting out from under, right.
Yeah, and we see that the market is picking up a little, and that's helpful for people. But we do provide a lot of counseling to help people figure out their best option. We have a mediation program that the state has asked us to run in concert with we work with the banks and really try to get people into a dialogue about the best situation. See if we can avoid a foreclosure situation, because obviously it's best for people if they can stay in their home and make the payments. If that's not an option, we talk through with them what the options are for them in the housing market beyond owning a home.
That's great. That's great.
So someone who's looking to buy a home for the first time and maybe doesn't know which way to go, they can go to Rhode Island Housing, and you guys will provide counseling
yes,
on how to do that. Now, so you're providing counseling. You're trying to guide them in terms of, purchasing a home that they can afford based on their income, I'm assuming, right? Has anyone ever gone off that and said, you know what, thanks but no thanks, I'm going to go buy this super expensive house anyways?
Yeah, then they don't do it through us. But obviously we have a suite of programs that can help people. The one that you're talking about is actually we require a home buyer training program. It's usually 6 classes. It helps people with their budgeting. And we think that this has contributed to our lower percentage of loans that become a troubled loan. So people know what they're getting into. If you move from a rental situation to a home ownership situation, you have to understand If your kid throws a baseball through the window, you can't call the landlord. You have to learn to fix it. So providing that, a budget of how you can manage your home. But we provide all of that, and I would suggest if people are interested, they could call our offices at 457-1234. I'll put in a plug, and we can help them figure out if home ownership is an option.
Is there any particular extension you would go to, Director? Or
they can direct them through if they come in. Or they can come in. We do have a street front location on Washington Street downtown.
What's the address?
44 Washington Street. And we can offer people support that way and give them the advice. And I think you hit on it. If people have the right counseling, the right support, you get in a product that you can afford. And that is really the key to success, getting into a mortgage product that is affordable to you and to your family based on your circumstances.
What about going forward relative to affordable housing? And the governor, I think, just announced a pilot program, $3 million.
Yes. Again, as part of working with the governor to stimulate the economy, we were very excited that there was $3 million in the Commerce Department budget, which we work very closely hand in hand with them. The housing preservation and production was focused on leveraging federal resources. As you know, Jack, the federal low-income housing tax credit, it's a bit of a mouthful, but it is the key federal resource to build multifamily rental apartments. And one of those, there's two types of credits. One, we get a set amount, and one we have a little more flexibility. It's called a 4% credit. And we weren't fully using all of that, and so this money will help preserve existing housing, build new housing, and put people back to work.
And that is given out by the state as, I think it's $2.50 per resident in the state. So
that's on the 9% credit. On the 4% right. is capped by our mortgage revenue bond capacity. So it's set to a different way. The 9% is a set amount, but it's a deeper subsidy to the project, allowing us to serve families in a different way. So the 4% leverages private investment. We're bringing tens of millions of dollars into the state of private investment along with federal resources for the $3 million. So I think it's a good leverage factor and a great investment for the state.
How many units do you think you can leverage with that?
With the $3 million, we expect to do, I think, the last 120 to 150 apartments.
So that would be... and the rental structure would be affordable.
Yes, absolutely. That would be affordable to people earning up to 60% of the area median income.
Which isn't that bad, relatively speaking.
No, it would serve families up to roughly $45,000 or $50,000 a year. And they could get into an apartment that has a rent that meets their family income.
And that's for 2 and 3 bedrooms or 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms?
We don't set the bedroom amount. It depends on the application. Okay. So there can be I think the projects we see have a variety of unit sizes.
And the processing time frames?
Oh, we're very excited. At our November board meeting just a couple of weeks ago, our board approved the first half of that $3 million, $1.5 million to 2 projects, and we expect to give out the rest of that money at our January board meeting.
Oh, that's exciting.
So the first $3 million out there and leveraging investment, putting people back to work, and contributing to the governor's agenda.
That is fantastic.
So for people who aren't familiar with the low-income housing tax credit program, a listener might be listening, and that's all kinds of gibberish to them, right?
Absolutely.
That's all property management.
I think one thing
speak.
You should,
but
the population out there is kind of tainted. And this is not going to cost them anything.
No.
So that's got to be understood.
That's kind of where I was going. Right. Is that it's a tax credit incentive. And you can explain better
from the federal government.
From the federal government for private investors to invest their private money in building affordable type of housing. Right.
Perfect. You said it.
And they get a credit on their tax.
On their federal
taxes.
So you basically have large Fortune 100 companies, banks, invest in this credit. And if your listeners have another 2 hours, we could run through it. It's a complicated federal program. The important thing for them to understand is that it is private dollars invested in housing. And generally, these are national companies, and we're bringing that money here to invest in our state. So we are leveraging that investment into building housing, putting people to work, and providing a rent that families can afford.
The latest one just opened in North Providence. It's the Veterans Housing Building. You were there. I saw you there. It's a tax credit program, 20-unit building. I talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago when it opened. A tax credit building, and that's how it was funded. Investors came in, and they invested their private money, and it was a big partnership. There were several pieces to that puzzle, but you were there. It's a fantastic facility.
Oh, it was. I'm glad you were there. It was an absolutely picture-perfect fall
Great day.
The governor was there, the federal delegation, the private investors, but most importantly, our veterans. I'm a strong believer that anyone that commits their time and puts on the uniform shouldn't come home and not have a place to sleep. They shouldn't wind up on the street. So this is an affordable housing program that's also a historic preservation. I think that one particularly was beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing there is that it's not only providing 20 apartments for veterans, it's also got services on site. So people who might need help figuring out a job training program that can get them back into the market, get them being at a job, it really provides that wraparound services. But it was a historic property that was vacant and blighted, and now it's back into productive use. Right across the street were some market rate apartments. There's a bus line going by there. I thought it was just a win-win-win that day.
Oh, big time. Yeah, big time, and it's and that's one of the that's a good example, of a low-income housing tax credit program, helping a building and getting people up into housing, affordable housing, and in this case, it's for veterans. So, like you said, it's a win-win all the way around.
Yeah, I think the construction workers were there that day to see the final product, which was really exciting, and we had 2 veterans speak that day about their experience and what it meant to them personally. To be able to have a place like that to call home. I think that's something we all need and all deserve is a place to call home.
Really outstanding.
All right, you're listening to IREM Today, the property management show here on AM 790. We'll be right back right after this. All right, 422 here on IREM Today, the property management show. If you're just tuning in and maybe you're in your car on your way home from the office, or maybe you got an emergency call at your multifamily property and you're on your way there.
Oh, my God.
Hope not. I hope not.
Hope not.
In studio with me is Jack Bentz, our legislative chairperson here for IREM Greater Rhode Island Chapter 88, and the executive director of Rhode Island Housing, Barbara Fields. And we talked about low-income housing tax credits, a bunch of things we can talk about, right, Jack?
Absolutely. There's a myriad of things that are in this housing world.
We could use several hours to talk to Barbara, but we only have so much time.
We'd have to nail the door shut and turn on the air conditioning.
Well,
where's my hammer?
I'm here for today, and I'm ready to come back another time.
Oh, that'd be great. You'll get definitely an invitation, right, Jason?
That's right. Absolutely. Door's always open.
Absolutely. We've been talking about. We talked about the veterans. We talked about a number of things relative to the students, and what programs and other funding sources might be available in the future. Is HUD looking at anything in 2016, or are we?
Well, we have a strong partnership with HUD, and as you know, we run the Section 8 program for HUD, and I think that will continue to be strong. I think that we are looking forward to leveraging whatever resources they have. If they continue with the Choice Neighborhoods program, there are 2 communities in our state that receive those funds to do some planning for the future, Woonsocket and a neighborhood in Providence and Onlyville. So whatever's out there, we're trying to leverage. I think right now we're looking, we will be introducing what's known as an 811 program. So those are vouchers that we hope to bring into, we will bring into the state, which will help the chronically homeless and those Medicaid users that are high-end users in a nursing home perhaps move to housing that has services, which will be a lower cost. And we will have 150 vouchers that we will put out into the community over the next 2.5 years.
Excuse me, Director. Is that the 811 program? Is that going to be project-based, or is that going to be individually? Or you can you how should I say, group them together, or is it individual vouchers going out? And
we hope to project-base them, but they will also be available individually into different developments. So
throughout the state.
Right.
Okay.
But we're just right now staffing up. It's actually a partnership between Rhode Island Housing and the Executive Office of Health and Human Services. We jointly applied, and Buddha, which don't ask me that's the former Behavioral Health Department, but really it is a cooperative endeavor because we are the housing experts and they're the experts on the services that people need. So this is really, I think, going to help 150 individuals and or families in the state.
Oh, wow. Throughout the state. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
stay tuned for early January. We'll have another announcement on another program to help people buy housing. So I just give you a little teaser.
So there's some new programs coming out for single-family homes and people looking to buy.
This will be around buying foreclosed homes.
Foreclosed homes, okay.
And so I'll only give you a teaser because we're not quite ready to announce it, and we will have that, we believe, ready to roll by mid to late January.
Well, in Providence alone, I think there's about 500 single-family or multifamily homes that are
this program will be eligible in Providence, and we are working closely with the Alorza administration on their programs to see what we can do to assist them. We have committed up to $3 million in a revolving construction loan to help them acquire and rehabilitate those properties. So we're working very closely with them.
I don't want to paint Providence as the only one that has some of these foreclosed properties. I think there's a number of them in Cranston as well as in Warwick.
I don't have the full list, but this new program will be the eligible buyers in 10 of the state's communities.
So I would say there'd be Woonsocket, Cranston, Warwick, West Warwick, Providence.
Well, you'll have to wait till January to find out, Jack. I'm not giving up any more information yet.
I'm trying,
today.
Jason. I'm trying.
Are there any programs? We talked about low-income housing tax credit in large, multifamily buildings, and we talked about single-family residences and programs. Mm-hmm. What about in the middle? What about these 2-unit, 3 units, 4? Someone who's looking to invest in those types of properties. Are there any programs for them, or if someone wants to get into home ownership, but they don't necessarily want to purchase a single-family home, they want to purchase a 3-unit where they can live in one and rent the other 2. Are there programs for people looking for that kind of property?
Well, our mortgages are available through Rhode Island Housing for first-time home buyers, and we have 36 participating lenders, and it's not exclusively for single-family homes, so they would have to really go and look at their different income. But one thing that is helpful to people who are going into home ownership is something called the First Homes Tax Credit. So right now we have that available because of the source of our funding for our mortgages. So if you are qualified for the First Homes Tax Credit, you will get up to $2,000 a year on your federal taxes as a straight credit for the life of the mortgage.
Oh, wow.
So you have to close on that when you close on your mortgage. So if you stay in your mortgage 12 years, 15 years, 30 years, as long as you're in that mortgage, you will get a direct credit on your federal taxes.
And that's for a single-family first-time home buyer?
It's for a first-time home buyer. I don't want to be quoted. I don't think it's strictly limited to a single-family, but I would have to go back and check.
That's a nice incentive.
That is
terrific incentive. We've had.
Can I go back and be a first-time buyer again? Or
actually, in certain places where there's a higher than statewide average of poverty, you don't have to be a first-time home buyer.
Oh.
So I will say there was one mayor in my office who wanted to go out and sell his home and go back into a home product because he would have been his community would have qualified. But it's a terrific incentive, and so between that and the Ocean State Grad Grant, I think that we are trying to do our best job in helping people to buy a home, to have roots in the community. Hopefully they will find a job here as we grow the economy and think that this is a place worth investing in.
So let's go back a little bit if we can to multifamily and the incentives for preservation. All right. I mean, there's a lot of developments out there that are going to be coming up in the coming years, if not the coming year, for refinancing and new programs. I think you mentioned the 4% credits and the 9% credits. With the availability of those credits and to keep housing affordable, and a lot of the projects that we're involved in obviously have HAP contracts, housing assistance payment contracts, and you want to preserve them because most of them are out 15, 20 years. So the refinancing of those projects that could possibly go conventional, and I'm sure Rhode Island Housing wants to keep them affordable. If I'm not, I stand corrected, Director.
No, so, that's our top priority.
So, I think
our goal is to grow the economy as part of the governor's team, put people back to work. But if we don't preserve the stock we already have, we'll never get ahead.
That's correct.
Clearly, we have a deficit on the housing side of enough housing for people. So we are committed to putting people to work, building more housing, but preserving what we already have, and that's why that $3 million was used for preservation and production, because we think that they're equally worth investing in, and in order to help the economy. It will put people back to work in preserving and also making them more energy efficient. That's also another way that we can put people to work and contribute in our own way to climate issues.
Climate issues has been in the paper for the last couple of days with the Paris convention.
It's the
climate control
conference. Conference they're
Thank
having.
you. I'm lost for words sometimes.
Yeah, we are
which is
working
unusual.
very closely. We have been working with the new infrastructure bank, and we want to try and see if we can expand our opportunities to work hand in hand with them on energy efficiency, because we think it has it puts people to work, it improves energy efficiency, and is positive for the state.
You're listening to IREM Today, the property management show here on AM 790. We come back more with Barbara Fields, Executive Director of Rhode Island Housing, right after this.